Discover just how
It's 6 o'clock on the dot. We are braving the cold in Babane this morning. Very good morning to you wherever you are. Hoping that you are warm as you watch your perfect recipe to start your morning. My name is Fiso Ngumal and I'm not alone. I'm with Lungalele Makakula as usual. How are you doing?
I'm well. How do you do this morning?
Doing very well.
It's
Can't
very
complain.
cold.
Yeah,
temperatures have dropped to 13 degrees Celsius.
Yeah.
Lapha eMbabane nje ke phanje surprisingly on Friday as well kuphinze kushise and sasakumakhatanyana but sasakutabe kungcono so
Yeah.
please do stay warm nembathe ningadongena ngemakhata.
Yakhifita ke nalokukhifita. I'm wondering ukuthi engabe kuya affect kanjani imigwaqo lokho, but we will have a traffic update from Sergeant Begmuzi Kule. Utawusichazela nje nekusixwayisa ukuthi sicaphele ndiphi thikabeto emigwaqweni yelive. It's an interesting morning today. We will be joined by Domestic Trade Manager at the Eswatini Investment Promotion Authority, Mr. Sihle Ngabinza, who will join us to talk all things post Eswatini International Trade Fair following a successful 10-day trade show at Mavuso Trade Center, Kamanzini and Kabave. With this year's trade show, EIPA's mandate was to attract, promote, encourage, as well as to facilitate local and foreign direct investment and trade in Eswatini for economic development. Quite interesting. Kutsike utasi pa ima highlights. Mr. Ngabinza Tsenvele basebende ganjani. Msakatu wetitfombe Eswatini TV beukanekise khona nembukelo KBS bekasolabona some of the products that we're offering for some of the exhibitors besibona imisebenzi yabo through the program Kusile Breakfast Show. But Mr. Ngabinza will give us an in-depth, highlight of what really went down. How many exhibitors were there? We know that in the past one, in 2019, approximately 300 exhibitors were able to trade and, create business linkages with other businesses locally and internationally. Khona kamanzini ngabe lo nyaka umsebenzi ube ngilo kanjani. Sihle Ngabinza will tell us more about that later on the show.
We'll also be joined by EPC's Communications Officer Mbonisi Bembe as the secondary elections are approaching at Abendeganje in 2 weeks on the 29th of September. Sitaba sikhulumisana naye kuva nje ukuthi wavela mhlambe lona libandla litilungiselele kanganani, and you'll recall ukuthi kulamalanga solokuchubeka khona i-process noma ke campaigning stage lapho khona amakhetfa asebenzisa lesi sikhathi sokuthi acampaign acele service amasado ukuthi sewavotele naloko sifuna kuva ukuthi ngavele mhlambe khamba kanjani ukuba amakhetwa ayalandzela nivele imigomo nemibandzela lebekwe ngiyo i-EPC. Sitaba sikhulumisana naye lomhlakuseni at 7:30. At this moment sasibukele thamba imbili kumaphephandzaba. Alright, sicala ngebuka 8 times of Eswatini lo mhla ngolesibili kanti ke ihloko letihamba embili nje butakhumbula ukuthi trade fair bamemetele ukuthi kutaba nemumvu lotawina imoto iKia iwinwe nguye Sibongiseni Nxumalo worth 380,000 emalangeni nguye ke lapha sebamveta sekathatha yona imoto yakhe. Kanti letinye ithamba embili, government introduces social accountability initiative and MPs will now report back to elected electorate. Politicians, including Tinvonate Tinkundla Buchopho, will be required to give progress reports every 3 months. Once again, as some teachers say Mbongo's dismissal is justified. Letting it house soldier got loans from First Finance Select in 1 day. Some elderly risk losing Tinkundla funeral cover.
Yeah, Temidlalo Times of Eswatini, 3 million emalangeni for 2024 Trade Fair Cup as curtain falls on this year's edition. This was announced by Commerce Minister Mangoba Khumalo. Losa announced again ukuthi they plan to increase the purse in next edition. Lokutaba ke ngomnyaka lotako. Once ke ehlangothini lwegolf lapho khona beqhubeka khona iKings Cup. Eswatini golfers earn over 90,000 emalangeni in Kings Golf Cup. Kanti ke kulenye lehamba embili on the international front, Novak Djokovic has won his 24th Grand Slam. Ganzige sisabuya lapha ekhaya, Yellow League games back at Somhlolo is the question. Football fanatics will be delighted to know that the MTN Premier League will kick off this weekend. Very interesting.
All right, your leading stories on the Eswatini Observer this Tuesday. Nakona inzaba ye Kia handover, which was handed over to Sibongseni Nxumalo. Kuletinye ntamba embili FSRA bias towards Eswig ngekusho kwaLikwane. They have launched action against Eswig for recovery of 63 million emalangeni. Kanti ke kuletinye ntamba embili eManzini South, there is frustration as voters shun campaigns.
Yes, siyambongela umgodi Longelele. Anyway, sisaya kuma leading headlines kuma sports kweSwatini Observer. Somhlolo is to open gates for football. The hosting of the country's 55th double celebration at Somhlolo National Stadium seems to have had good spin-offs as the country's only football mecca is now ready to host Premier League games ahead of the 2023-2024 season to resume on Friday. On another one, Ministry to help PLE get 3 million emalangeni Trade Fair Cup sponsorship. That is the Ministry of Industry and Trade. Mangoba Khumalo losa announce logo ke kanti ke kulenye roads get narrow, or rather road get narrow for teams in Momo Cup voting. Those are the leading sports headlines this morning.
Right, it's 6 minutes after 6 as Battle Timagi suspended in Zabatit for the Swati.
Umsakazo wetithombe iEswatini TV utibophelele kuhlonipha nekulandzela umgomo wetekusakata loweluswe libandla letekuchumana eveni.
Ngephansi kwalomgomo sitimisele kusakata tindzaba letentiya ngaleso sikhatsi tindzaba letide emagama lacosheme letitsembekile letitsinza tonke tinhlangothi naletisebaleni
kusukela kutepolitiki, tetemphilo, tekulima, tetinkantolo netemhlaba wonke jikelele siniletsela tindzaba njengoba tinjalo ngaleso sikhatsi letenteka ngaso.
Kanzi kulo msakato siphindze sikulethele lonke luhlobo lwetemidlalo kusuka emidlalweni welibhola letinyawo kuye emidlalweni ledlalelwa ematafuleni kanye naleto letiqhamuka ngaphandle kwakuleli.
Leti tindzaba lowutiletselwa ngumsakazo wetithombe iEswatini TV.
Asimze sinemukele nathi tindzaba. Mvenankulu Cleopas Dlamini uthi kuthuthuka komnotho welive leSwatini kusekubambisaneni kwato tonke tinhlangothi telive kusuka kubosomabhizinisi kuya kulabo labaniketa lusito loluhlukahlukene lolufaka ekhatsi lwemali ekucala nekuthuthukisa ibhizinisi. Mvenankulu bakhulumana kavala ngalokusemthethweni umbukiso walonyaka lobone isicubulo lesithi Endless Possibilities emcimbini lebobanjelwe khona embukisweni kaManzini. Mvenankulu bamelelwe indvuna yamabhizinisi Mangoba Khumalo.
Inkulumo yemhlonishwa ndvunankulu iqale ngekudumisa emakhosi elive ngekusekela lo mbukiso ngenhlitiyo yawo yonke lokubonakele nangekuthi lo nyaka awuvakashele kabili kwekucala ngqa emlandweni wawo.
We have seen many companies exhibiting today, many contractors, many traders, many vendors, many financial institutions, many service providers. What I liked the most as well was the number and quality of small, medium enterprises that had stands for the full 10 days on display. We also saw government services that were interacting with the private sector and understanding what people require from government and government agencies and state-owned enterprises. It was an amazing opportunity for business people.
Sihlalo welibandla lelengamele inkampani yahulumende yekukhanga bosomabhizinisi EIPA Tiyohlophe lobekamelelwe nguSamson Mdluli ubonga bonke labasekele lo mbukiso walonyaka.
I want on behalf of EIPA to congratulate and thank all of you, our exhibitors, for the 10 days of business engagement in the Kingdom of Eswatini.
Kulo msebenzi kuhlonyeliswe labahlabene etinhlangothini letahlukahlukene lapho khona umnyango wekucondzisa timilo uthole imihlomelo lemibili lemunye wayo ube wekuthandwa sive kakhulu kwathi inkampani yahulumende lethuthukisa tekulima iEswat yaqomeliswa ukuthi ngiyo lehambe embili kubo bonke labe bangenele lo mbukiso. Etindzabeni te-Eswatini TV kubika Mbongwa Dube nampendulo Gumbi kaManzini.
Imvuna yetisebenti iphila Buthelezi ithi ukukhulumisana emkhatsini kwebacashi netisebenti ngona kuletha kuvana etindzaweni tekusebenza kuphindze kube nemthelela lomuhle ekukhuliseni umkhicito kanye nemnotfo. Imvuna beyikhuluma ngesikhatsi uhulumende kanye nenhlangano leyengamele tinhlangano tetisebenti ithi ukhoswa wasayina umbiko locukethe loku lesebavumelene ngako etindzabeni letinge-21 letaphakanyiswa njengetikhalo enhlanganweni yakamhlaba yetisebenti International Labour Organization. Lomsebenzi bobanjelwe ehotela Ariel Villas.
Kuletikhalo letinge-21 sinye sahociswa kwasombululwa leti-15 kanti leti-5 tona tisasetshenzwa.
Abekhona ama-challenges lena kusetshenzwa vele kubanjalo kungaba kumbe isikhathi lesasinikethwe sona initially sibe sesiyeluleka kodwa nje silulwe ngikuthi besolokuqhutshwa nomsebenzi abe kungahadwa abekwendiwa lokulesti committee kibo kumbe vele bengeke savumelana kuto tonke inkulumo lebetkhona ema-complaints but we have achieved a lot and sitawuthi noma umbiko ukhulunyiswa ka-ILO at least atabe sangasiwo maningi ama-issues and sitawakhuluma nekwethembeka nangekudinisela njengoba kushidiwe lo ukuthi nalesitibophelelekiko singuhulumende wayengonyama siyacommit ukuthi sitawukwenza konke ngokwethembeka bekumele.
Sihlalo welikomidi lebelideka lendzaba yaletikhalo liJudge Sifiso Nsibanze uthi onke emabandla lathintekako bekatinikele ngalokuphelele kulo msebenzi.
What we discovered was that it allowed the parties, the social partners, to actually discuss issues that arose for the first time between themselves.
Kubhekeke ukuthi lo mbiko ukhishelwe esiveni ngesikhathi lesitawushiwo ngilo litiko letetisebenzi. Etindzabeni te-Eswatini TV kubika Mbongwa Dube ezulwini.
Umcondzisi welihhovisi le-decentralization etiko letinkhundla Dumsani Sithole uthi emalunga latawukhetfwa etigabeni letahlukene telikhetfo sekatawubhekeka ukuthi abe nelibhuku lemisebenti letawuyenta kanye nalabatawuphathiswa yona sive. Sithole bakhuluma emhlanganweni nabo babetkhulu besifundza saseshiselweni.
Litiko letinkhundla lihlanganyele nabo babetikhulu besifundza saseshiselweni kutawubukisana umgomo wekusebenta tindzaba tentfutfuko kanye nekusitwa kwesive i-Social Accountability Initiative. Lo mgomo utawuphindze wente siciniseko sekuthi emakhetfwa esigabeni selilunga lephalamende indvuna yenkhundla kanye nebucopho abanemkhombandlela yokusebenta nendlela yekubuka kutsi ayahlangabetana netidzingo tesive. Umcondzisi welihhovisi laka-decentralization etiko letinkhundla Dumsani Sithole uchaza ukuthi lo mgomo utawusebenza njani.
Labantu bafuna nje ukuthi kube nekhulumisana. Basho lokuthi sikuthumile sakuthuma nabo. Nawe wasithembisa nabo. Kule ndlela lesikwakhe ngayo kwesiwakhekelela ukuthi kube khona le ndlela yokucoca leti inkulumo takho lapha nabathi labantu sinethembisa ukuthi sikhona ukuthola kahle sibhale kahle phansi kuwo lona wethembise lokho lona wethembisa lokho.
Lo bukeli ihhovisi lesifundza saseshiselweni Peter Mamba uyaveta ukuthi lesifundza siuthakasela kanganani lo mgomo.
Lokhu nje lebasinike kona sikhanza ukuthi kutasisithe kakhulu.
Lobongela abo babe tikhulu lekusikhulu mbilini uthi lo mgomo usho kuphendvuleka kwemthandazo weminyaka.
Emalunga eParliament nabe shothi seswathumile ukuthi akaye eParliament awushaya umthetho. Ababuye kulabantu kulesive lesibathumile. Kusho lokho ukuthi lela sibathume ukuthi abahambe bawusebenzela khona bakhanza ini.
Lenye inguquko ledana lomgomo ukuthi emarket fakutawubhekeka ukuthi yaletha imibiko yekusebenta emiphakatsini nasetinkundleni tawo njalo ngemuva kwetinyanga letintsatfu. Lobika-ke Tindzabente Eswatini TV nguthando kuhle Mdluli ngisenhlangano.
Sibongiseni inximalo lothole umhlomelo welunyanyavu lwemotolo lehlobo leKia Sonet uthi le motolo idamsita ukuthi yakhona ukuchuba emabhizinisi akhe lafa ekhathi ukuthwala abantwana nabaya esikolweni. Nximalo ubonga umbukiso ukuthi ube khona lonyaka bekhulumana kemukela le motolo endveneni elitiko letemabhizinisi nekuthengiselana manxoba khumalo lo bekamelele indvunankulu.
Umbukiso walonyaka unikete emaswati lamanyenti ukuthi akhangise imkhicido yawo, lamanye ke akhona nekutfola lusito lebekaludzingile ngekutitfutfukisa. Lo mbukiso awagcini lapho njengobe unikete litfuba liswati, sibongiseni Nxumalo ukuthi ke atfole imotolo elihlobo loKia Sonet leli bita ngetulu kwemali lenganga 300,000 emalangeni. Le motolo yetfulwe indvuna ilitiko letekuthengiselana manxoba khumalo lobekamelele indvunankulu. Nxumalo uthi ke le motolo itamsita ukuthi akhona ukuchuba ibhizinisi yakhe.
Isabonga kakhulu Nkosi yami kuba kaKia, ngiphinze ngibonge kakhulu kuba se FNB, ngiphinze ngibonge kakhulu kuba se West Bank kulo mhlomelo longaka Nkosi yami. Ngicabanga ukuthi nami iqinisweni lonke bengingakawulinzeli, but nje ke uNkulunkulu asemazulwini ubonile ukuthi kufanele ukuthi ngingawuthola lona mhlomelo ngoba yena ubonile imisebenzi yami noma imithwalo yami lekhona ukuthi itangisidaphi ezingisho ukuthi bengizama ukungenta ibhizinisi ekulayisha abantwana, so bothola ukuthi lelenye seyithwele emadima kakhulu, but ke ngicabanga ukuthi ezisetting 2 nyalo litawukhona lokuthi tilekelelane. Ngiphinze ke ngedlulise kubonga emakhosini ethu eveni ukuthi asinike leli thuba sibuye nathi sikhombise ukuthi solo sibantu abemaswati ekhathi Eswatini. Siyabonga.
Nxumalo utaba nelitfuba lekuphefumula sikhashana lesingaba ngumnyaka ekwetheni le motolo gasolina ngoba ke kunetinkampani letawuyetha sikhathi lesingangeminyaka. Kanti ke futhi le motolo inemshwalense. Tindzabeni kubika Sondomlangeni nginambonga Dube kaManzini.
Litiko letempilo liside emaswati langetulu kwamakhulu lamane lebekahlola tifo letfaya ekhathi sifo sesifuba sengati, mdlavuza, shukela kanye neligciwane HIV kuletinye. Ngekusho kwa Calvin Dlamini lofundzisa ngetempilo kulelitiko sive sitfole litfuba lekufundziswa kabanti ngekuvikela tifo kanti labanye bagomele neligciwane leHPV.
Embukisweni walonyaka ematiko kahulumende lasita emaswati atfole litfuba lekusita sive lesidzinge lusito. Lamanye alamatiko afake ekhatsi litiko letempilo etfula ngekuthi lelitiko lisite emaswati langanani kulombukiso. Calvin Dlamini lofundzisa ngetempilo uthi sive sikhombise inshisekelo lenkulu yekunikela ngengati kanye ke nekuhlola tifo letfake ekhatsi sifo sashukela.
Tinombolo tethu betisetulu kakhulu bantu bebeta estandini saka health kusukela nje mhla ka1 nayiqala ishow nasigcina kutihlanganisa ngalesihlanu. Ngicabanga ukuthi kulabe bahlole eshukela bese singetulu kwa 200, kulabe banikele ngengadi bese singetulu kwa-100 wemaphayinti engadi lebesiwatholile. Kulabahlolwe umlomo wemdlavuza wesibeletho nakhona bese singetulu kwabo 90. Kanjalo nakubo HIV nabo TB. Cishe nje utonke inombolo tethu betisetulu kakhulu. Sijabula kakhulu esivele. So siboneke ukuthi lisasasa libe khona cishe konke. Sengiloko nje kwekuthi nasafikile umuntu sekatsheliwe ngalokho nangalokho, so ubona yena ukuthi hayi mina ngiva ngathi ngidisola kakhulu ngala kashukela, mina ngiva ngathi ngitsinga kakhulu ngala. Siyajabula futhi sibabonile bantwana bethu labancane emantombazana ayithatha ivaccine ye-HPV.
Live leSwatini lihamba emgomeni walo wekusonzeta lusito lwetempilo esiveni. Lokuhambisana ngco nemgomo wentfutfuko lekhonsako yakamhlaba wesithathu lokhutata-ke ukuthi bantfu batfole lusito lwetempilo masinyane futhi tfutane. Etindzabeni kubika Sondomlangeni nginaThemba Shabangu kaManzini.
Libhange lenkadi liyachubeka nemkhankaso bekunikelisa sive ngengadi njengoba selisebenzisana nemabandla etenkolo ekwendeni lomsebenzi. Lohlangosi selinikelise ingadi ebandleni leMaroma kaManzini kanti nasembukisweni liyachubeka nalomsebenzi.
Umkhankaso wekunikelisa sive ngengadi kude isite labo labayidingako edibhedlela uchubeka njalo njengoba sinyenti sive lesiphatheke ngekugula lokuhlukahlukene lokudzinga yona ingadi. Umfundisi wetekunikela ngengadi Musa Dlamini uthi balibhange lengadi bafinyelela kuto tonke tinkhalo telive kuyawunikelisa sive ngengadi uma bamenyiwe.
Cishe eliningi lebantu bafuna kunikela ngengadi, but bese kuya ngalokho uyaqualify njengoba nje sicala ku16 weminyaka siyekele ku65. Takhanza lo mnye umuntu osongetulu kwalo 65 but uyafuna ukudonate, lo mnyeke emncane kunalo 16 kepha nayo uyafuna lokunikela ngengadi. Amabandla asibambisa sengukuthi ke nabasimema ukhanza ukuthi ngeke size sifike kibo bonke la ngalinye ngalokho thina lama team ethu asesemancanyana ngenombolo, so ukukhuthata ke nalamanye amabandla lasengase asimema wona ukuthi sitekiwe sitowa donate sangale kwaloko sive ngosiyami siyasibonga kakhulu ekuthenini ikakhulu emabandleni basibambisa kakhulu.
Dlamini uchubeka uthi njengoba sekutovulwa tikolwa esigabeni sesithathu seminyaka bothishela bangabamema kutonikelisa abantu abesikolwa ngengadi kanti kulesikhathi lesi seminyaka ababathinzi labo labatobhala luhlolo lwangaphandle. Etindzabeni te-Eswatini TV kubika Mbongwa Dube kaManzini.
Lempela somfo noma kube ngule phitsitelako ngesizatfu semicimbi beyikhona eveni kepha kube bededigameko lethambisana nale micimbi. Ngekusho komxhumanisi wemaphoyisa nesive ephindile vilakati tikhona tigameko letendekile eveni tebantfu labashonile labamitile labafaka ekhatsi lomunye gogo kanye nemfana longephansi kweminyaka lemibili budzala.
Umsebenzi ke singathi ube mhle kakhulu kulandzela ukuthi kude tingoti lesitibalako letitsintsana nalomsebenzi kude nebantfu labagcine babulalana siyathi bekunemagigi kunalokwa nalokwa kepha ke sive siphephile kude nemphahla ke lelahlekile lenkulu ngaletikhatsi leti siyathumisa kakhulu esiveni sibonge nakulabo lebesibambisene nabo sendlulisa nekubonga lokukhulu kubashayeli bemabhasi lebebalayishe imbali le ifike kahle emakhaya yonke. Siyathemba ukuthi siyachubeka sibambisana ngalendlela le kulandzela ukuthi seminingi imisebenzi yelive letako nakulomnyaka. Umuntu angabala ke digigaba letendeke nje ngaphandle kwale misebenzi lele kufaka ekhathi bantfu lababili labacwilile sinagogo loneminyaka lengu70 locwilile endanse big band sibe nemfana lonetinyanga letingu18 naye locwilile ngakulokunye ke sinemvodzana neminyaka lengu35 leshayiswe imoto lo ihamba ngetinyawo lapha kumathapha phindze futhi kube muntu loneminyaka lengu35 futhi loshayiwe wabulala emva kokuba asolakale ukuthi udlwengile umntwana loneminyaka lengu15 bodzala sibe nalababili ke labasesibhedlela labalimele emva kokuba lomnye adulubule kesandleni lomnye agecwe ngabo bobhusha labekuliwa khona ngala ngendase Sidvokotvo. Kwekugcina umuntu langacela sive sisibambise kuko kuthola imoto lethethwe kaManzini itolo emini kumnikati womukwa imoto lelinganiselwa ku300,000 emalangeni imali lengaba ngu70,000 emalangeni sibhamu sakhe netinhlavu letingu16 khona edolobheni siyacela sive sisithinze ku7606 8570 7606 8570 lekungibaba ehlophe lobuke endzaba tekucala esifundeni sakaManzini sichubeke nekwekhuta umoya wekuthatha impahla yesive ngendluzula.
Imvotala neminyaka lengama-40 yaseyamathendele igwetshwe iminyaka lesiphohlongo noma ikhiphe inhlawulo etinkulungwane letisiphohlongo ngemuva kwekulahlwa licala lekugeca intfombi yayo emkhonweni ngabhusha.
Umsolwa longumbongiseni Simelane loneminyaka lengama-48 wasemathendele uvele embi kwamantshi lomkhulu Florence Msibi enkantolo yamantshi yenhlangano. Lo msolwa ubekwe licala lekushaya singani sakhe ngenhloso yekusilimata. Kuthiwa lo msolwa wathina sabona lesingani sakhe sopha waphuma wacela embunzini. Lesinganisa lo msolwa sabe sesihlaba umkhosi kwaba ngulapho ke sive safika waphuthunyiswa esibhedlela. Ngekusho kwemaphepha asenkantolo kucabana kwalaba lababili kwasuswa ukuthi isingani semsolwa saphuta kubuya emsebentini ngalwesihlanu. Inkantolo imthole anelicala lomsolwa yabese imjikijela ekhulukuthwa iminyaka lesiphohlongo noma akhiphe inhlawulo etinkulungwane letisiphohlongo. Ngakulokunye Sifiso Maphalala loneminyaka lengama-64 wakahlathi uvele embi kwamantshi lomkhulu Florence Msibi ngekubekwa licala lekushaya umshana wakhe ngesibhakela esweni. Inkantolo ichazelwe ukuthi lokwasusa umsindvo kulaba lababili kuthi umsolwa watshela umshana wakhe ukuthi yabonaka abantwana bakamakhelwane lebebashiwe ngunina babodvana. Inkantolo ibe siyamlahla lo msolwa ngaleli cala kanti utawugcinwa ngumnyango locondzisa timilo netigwegwe iminyaka lesiphohlongo noma akhiphe inhlawulo etinkulungwane letisiphohlongo. Lobika-ke tindzabente Eswatini TV nguthando kuhle Mdluli ngisenhlangano.
Kutemidlalo licembu lemnyango wokucondzisa timilo His Majesty's Correctional Services lemdlalo we-netball kubomake kanye nabobabe sengilo champion bendzebe yemdlalo we-netball yalonyaka. Lecembu lingcobe i-reps kumancamu kubobabe kanye nabomake.
Kumbukiso lonyaka kutemidlalo umdlalo netball nayo boyingcinye letinye temidlalo lebetinemgcutsulwano lebokadze usekelwe bakamula sport betting ngemali engu-50,000 emalangeni. Lo mgcutsulwano bongenelwe amacembu lamane abobabe lamane abomake kanye namacembu abadlali abasebancane kanye nalawo labuya etigodzini. Kubomake licembu le-correctional belitholane ne-Royal Eswatini Police Services lapho khona i-correctional incobile ngemaphuzu langu-49 kulawo langu-39. Kanti kubobabe i-correctional lebeyitholane nayo i-Royal Eswatini Police Services incobile nayo nga-45 ku-25. Kanti boshampiyoni balendzebe bathola imali lengu-5,000 emalangeni kubobabe kanye nakubomake. Lobikela umsakati Eswatini TV kutemidlalo ngilinda Dlamini naphathizwe Msibi eMavuso Sports Center kaManzini.
Umceceshi weqembu le-Green Mamba Ernest Mavuso lothole umklomelo wokuba ngumceceshi lohambe embili emqhudelwaneni we-Trade Fair yeminyaka wa-2023 uthi emalungiselelo abone emidlalo nelicembu leMbabane Swallows bekasetulu kakhulu lokwende ukuthi kube lula ukuthi bangancoba lo mdlalo. Mavuso bekakhuluma ngemuva kokuthi iqembu lakhe lincobe kuMbabane Swallows ngamagoli lasithupha ecanzeni kumancamu alendzebe.
Kumancamu endzebe ye-Trade Fair iminyaka wa-2023 lapho khona bekutholana ilicembu leMbabane Swallows kanye ne-Green Mamba. I-Green Mamba uyincobile lo mdlalo ngamagoli asithupha ecanzeni. Ngemuva kwalo mdlalo kube sekuhlonyeliswa labo labende kahle kulo mgcutsulwano walonyaka kanti umceceshi welicembu le-Green Mamba Ernest Mavuso nguye lokhethwe njengemceceshi lohambe embili.
Sithi tasitreat one half separate from the other. Lokusho ukuthi niko lokusende mhlambe nasibuya usibone shaya amagoli amabili yini because you never sure of the result in a game of football until and unless sikhathi sikuvumela. I've seen worse situations it's about 2 minutes ishintshe game altogether. That's why we had to secure 2 goals in the second half. Otherwise we didn't want to look like punishing Swallows. So we had to show that element of respect.
Njabulo Thwala lungikapteni welicembu le-Green Mamba loshaya amagoli amathathu kumancamu ukhethwa waba ngumdlali odlale wagcama.
Lokumcoka ukuthi lokhu kusita ukuchubekela phambili. Nalokhu ngijabulise kakhulu ukuthi emagoli ngiwashayile. lokuyinkhomba ukuthi kufuna ngichubeke ngifake amandla because last season angikawashayi enough kepha ngisifiso sami ukuthi kule season ngente ngcono kunale season lesisuka kiyo nalokuthi-ke sidawuchubeka sifake amandla i-team iqhubeke iwina.
Kanti iqiniso enyawo ngunozintombi baneswaloza ukhethwe njenganozinti lohamba embili. Umsakato weSwatini TV wona uthola umhlomelo umsakato wetithombe lohamba embili. Lobikela umsakato weSwatini TV temidlalo ngilinda Dlamini anaphathizwe Msibi emavuso.
29 minutes after 6 diphethela bhodi indzaba tethu futhi eSiswati sidaba ahlele emakethe nasibuya sidabe sikhuluma kabanti nge-trade fair.
Tifumbo tanamhla esomveni betingakacondzani nathi. Hawu mngani, usho ngani? Bekukhulunyela befana kuphela, buka nje bekukhulunywa ngekusoka. Ushiyekile impela mnganami. Angayiva kahle lenzaba.
Phela ngekusoka bobhuti, nanathi bayazivikela kumdlavuza womlomo wesibeletho. Futhi ukusoka kuyingcenye yezindlela zokuvikela i-HIV even. Kanti-ke naye ibhuti masekasokile, uyativikela kumdlavuza wemvuku.
Uyabona mngani ngishiyeke mbamba. Uyabona babuya kutofundisa betempilo, ngitolalela.
Lo mlayeto ulethelwa litiko letempilo. Kuva kabanti, shayela 2030.
Minutes after 6 ngwela muhla siphindze sikwamukele ehlelweni siloke naqala ihlelo ukuthi sitawukhulumisana na domestic trade manager of Eswatini Investment Promotion Authority Mr. Sihle Nkabinze, who joins us to talk all things post Eswatini International Trade Fair following a successful 10 days trade show lebese Mavuso Trade Center Kamanzini. With this year's trade show, EIPA's mandate was to attract, promote, encourage as well as to facilitate local and foreign direct investment and trade in Eswatini for economic development. Mr. Nkabinze joined us a couple of times ahead of the trade show and reiterated that the event is designed to create business linkages between both the domestic and international communities and to stimulate both local and foreign trade for the country. Let's hear from him now. If they were able to achieve those aspirations, Mr. Nkabinze, very good morning. Sinvusa kumakhata lo muhla kodwa nje sifuna ukucongratulate kunangumsebenzi lo muhla 10 days of a successful trade show yet again after a break at 3 years. Just were you able to achieve your aspirations?
Thanks for having me basically, and good morning to your viewers. In terms of the objectives there too, I think we've achieved them. We planned to have this 10-day event with the 11th day being the awards and ceremony day, basically. I think we're on track and we could handle a lot of challenges. After the layoff for 3 years, due to the COVID era, we managed to go in terms of exhibition, in terms of entertainment, in terms of sporting codes, in terms of business seminars and other events that we had during the trade fair.
We also saw the event twice actually, being graced by His Majesty the King. What did this mean for EIPA, and what did this mean for the exhibitors? It's such an honor to always have, the head of state gracing any event really for any country.
Yeah, it was our lucky year, if I may put it.
Yeah.
It never happened before. It's just 2023 was just unique in that way.
Yeah.
Their Majesties, they supported us in terms of making sure that we officially opened the event in their presence. And on the 7th, they also came back with the other dignitaries from other countries just to showcase what Eswatini has to those presidents and ex-presidents.
Yeah.
Basically, it was a once in a lifetime, I guess, having them to come on 2 days. In terms of business, it gave us that upper ground, if I may put it, for the guests to see what Eswatini have a very special day, the 7th, where they could visit a couple of stalls just to see what Eswatini has to offer in terms of business, in terms of trade, and in terms of investments. I think it was our lucky year, if I may put it.
Yeah, and just like I was saying, when you appeared on the show ahead of, the trade show itself, you were mentioning the significance of how this is going to create linkages, not just for, local trade, but for international trade as well. And as you now touch on the fact that His Majesty, graced the show with international dignitaries, I guess that was another boost on that front of, boosting international trade. Let's talk about the growth of the event. I know the three-year layoff, as you've alluded to, may have, impeded some progress, but 300 exhibitors in 2019. Did we see a growth in terms of numbers of exhibitors this year, and which other, aspects did we see growth this year compared to previous years?
Yeah, definitely, growth was there. From our exhibitor perspective and from the visitors, if I may put it. From our exhibitor perspective, it's an issue of rebranding themselves, reintroducing themselves to their consumers, to other business partners. If you look at the trade fair, basically, it's just a platform whereby you have to take an opportunity as a business to introduce yourself or introduce your services or products to the consumers and also to all the other business partners. So I think companies this year, they went all out in ensuring that they have enough presence during the trade fair. Other than the corporate guys or the corporate companies, we also had a number of SMEs who participated in the trade fair.
Okay.
So in terms of growth, we saw just a huge number of businesses taking part during the trade fair.
Right.
Even from the visitor perspective, we had a number of visitors. We were skeptical at first that maybe we will have a slow uptake in terms of visitors during the trade fair, but we were surprised to see those numbers giving us a positive perspective in terms of those who came through. And we introduced a number of things during the trade fair. If I may give an example, a lounge area where we were skeptical as to how the public is going to respond towards that. But fortunately enough, it came out well.
Yeah. Would you say, though, that the number of exhibitors was more than previous years?
Yeah, definitely.
More than
it was
300?
more than the previous years.
Yeah.
Due to the fact that everybody was looking for that space to rebrand themselves, to reintroduce themselves. So from small companies to even large companies, we saw just quite a positive change.
Yeah, I was there myself a couple of days, and I was pretty pleased with the attendance, especially because I would go there in the wee hours of the morning. Like right now, I'd be there firstly for me, it was seeing how committed the exhibitors were, because I'd find them there at around 6:30, 7:30 a.m. And then at around 8:30, when I'd leave the trade fair to come back and do other work at the studio, I'd see a lot of people attending the trade show, which to me was quite gratifying. Indeed, the uptake was quite high. A plethora of activities you have touched on, Mr. Ngabin's business seminars. I believe there was a youth seminar in between the week, around the 7th day. I stand to be corrected. But I also saw the youth really interested in attending that. Was that strategic?
Yeah, definitely. Our aim basically at first when we work around organizing these seminars, we want to have a target group, basically, which we want to share that information to. This year, our target was the youth, hence the number of seminars that we held were just focusing on the youth, basically, and also SMEs. If you take it from the first one, where we were talking about working at the USA, the youth came in numbers. We had a very huge number in that for that seminar. Then I think on the third day we had the youth-specific seminar, which was talking to opportunities for the youth in the country, opportunities for the youth in the different sectors, and also opportunities for the youth in the African continent. Then on Thursday we had a seminar on e-commerce, basically, where e-marketing was discussed. So I think the youth plays a pivotal role in those innovation spaces. So our youth, they responded positively for both exhibition and even for seminars, and also some they took part in having stalls at the trade fair that will start from the vendors to handcrafters to SMEs, and they also, at the stands, you will find that the youth was also represented also in corporate spaces.
I think it was also interesting on the day of Eswatini's double celebration. I was able to move from Manzini into the double celebration, and one would assume that, you know, on a day as big as that one, a lot of people would just, in fact, everyone would go to the double celebration. But surprisingly enough, Manzini Trade Center was also fully packed, just as the Somhlolo Stadium was packed. Didn't you guys feel very scared to, have the show going on, on a day where the country was celebrating its double celebration?
Yeah, it was a challenge at first. We didn't know how it would turn out.
Yeah.
But the positiveness was still there. The people that still wanted to engage with the exhibitors in terms of looking at what is being offered during the trade fair. So we had that impressive participation, and it was also influenced by the fanfare games which were happening on the other side. If you remember, that's a holiday, and a lot of people, they want to take out their kids to enjoy themselves. So I think we had a fair participation in terms of visitors on that day.
Yeah, I want to get into the trade fair games, but before we get there, there was an aspect of innovation that you were, quite emphatic about in terms of encouraging for exhibitors. We saw His Majesty the King at the Rail Science and Technology Park stand speaking to a robot. I don't know what it was. He said something like, "Alexa, please light up the bulb, please," and there was light. Talk to me about innovation and the reason why you are, quite serious about promoting it.
It will be a huge mistake for us not to adapt to the changes that are happening all around the world. The world is moving faster than we are expecting. Hence, we have so many innovative initiatives that are coming through. During the trade fair, we saw a couple of companies bringing something new in terms of innovation. So it is our pleasure to have those institutions showcasing the best that we have in terms of innovation.
Mr. Ngabinze, sorry, I want to apologize briefly even to our viewers. We'll take a quick ad break. We just want to fix something real quick. We'll be back and further this conversation.
Bongosi egameni lelibandla letelkhetho nemingcele tingudla ngingusihlalo walo libandla sihlanganyela nesive malangeni lamahle kuhalalisela ingwenyama inkosi yethu inkosi Mswati wesithathu minyakeni lamashumi lasihlanu nakuhlanu kanye nelive longana kundiphethe wethu ukuthi lo lingana nabo netinsuku tengwenyama letingu 55 nananathi sisive seMaswati sina leminyaka ilengu 55 sesikhululekile ngandiphethe. Siyabonga ke bongosi sisahalalisele emakhosi ethu nelive ukuthi nebayitolo lekungibona lesithi basebenta lelive makhosi ayitolo nesive seMaswati sonke sayitolo ngoba lokhu lesesifike lamhla siyasakukhanza sakuhala lesikuhalaliselako ngilokuchamuka kibo lekubita ke ukuthi ke nathi siMaswati njengekukhonjwa indlela makhosi Nkosi yelive sichubekeni silibeke live libe ngiloko lekungona lesikukhanzile nathi nalokungcono Maswati silibandla lelikhetho nemingcele sisahalalisele makhosi nelive ngandiphethe sijinga siphinze futhi siwabongele makhosi ngemsebenzi losetulu eveni welkhetho sisitengcile tigaba tokuqala lebesikito nyalo ke sekuseleke sigaba lesesisetulu ke lokungisona sona ke lesisitawusiniketa iParliament yethu isinikete futhi emabandla enkundla lokuba ubuchopho ke lobakhiwa induna tetinkundla lokungibona bosihlalo bese ke nabo ubuchopho bemiphakathi benkundla labakha lobuchopho lelibandla lenkundla lokungilona lelisebenzisana kanye neParliament nahulumende welive leMaswati wonkana. Bongosi emalanga umuntu akandlulise lokuthi ngumhla ka-26 we-special voting bese ulandzela ke umhla ka-29.
All right, it's 12 minutes before 7. Sixolisa kakhulu ke ngekuthi sibahlole market but siyabonga solo nihleli nathi. We're still with Mr. Ngabinze from Eswatini Investment Promotion Authority. We're still having a conversation, Mr. Ngabinze. We're just, speaking to us about why you're encouraging innovation from our exhibitors. I want us now to talk about the other aspect of the trade show, which was more so focused on sports or rather recreation. Sibonile Bola, we saw Green Mamba obviously clinching that cup. We saw Mpawane Nix winning the basketball side of things. There was also netball as well and other activities. How important was this aspect of the trade show?
In as far as the trade show, basically, it's more on business. We just want to have the other aspect, which will be for the visitors, basically, on also an entertainment thing. We encourage sporting courses during the trade fair. We also encourage cultural activities to take place during the trade fair. In terms of sports, we use it in a different way. Some they use it as stress reliever. Some they just enjoy the part of looking at what is really happening in the games, and some are just fans of the particular game. So I think it is something that the EITF has adopted in the past years, having those entertainment aspects during the trade fair. We encourage to see that those skills being showcased as it being exhibited also through the different sporting courts. This year we saw the introduction of the football games coming back after a long layoff since 2000, if I'm not mistaken. So I think it gave us that another added advantage in terms of having different activities happening, especially in the sporting court side.
Yeah. The international aspect is set to allow you guys to, indeed show the world that Eswatini is open for business. With the advent of the African Continental Free Trade Area, e-commerce that we plan to, also leverage into trading with other developed countries. How important was this trade show in indeed showing that Eswatini is open for business, and did we really, leverage that aspect?
For the fact that there is this word international in the Eswatini International Trade Fair name, it says our aim basically as the host, Eswatini Investment Promotion Authority, to ensure that during the trade fair we have companies coming from all over the world. This year we had a few countries that participated in the trade fair, including Zimbabwe, Taiwan, Indonesia, and South African companies. We try by all means to expose what the Eswatini business climate to those companies, and we also try to get their perspective in terms of Maswati who want to explore the Taiwanese market, who want to explore the Zimbabwean market or the South African market. So it's just something where we reciprocate that exposure, having those companies participating at the trade fair. So it is very, very, very critical for us to ensure that we invite companies from outside the country.
Yeah. Here's the most interesting one, I believe, for at least many people, which turned into sometimes, an interesting joke on Twitter. A guy tweeted that ngibona imatfotsa emlana akijimsema forma zamagwini moto, and it was such a light moment on social media. But we have seen the culmination of everything. Umngoni Sibongiseni Nxumalo winning this car. Congratulations to him, by the way. Such a great incentive for people to attend the show. And for me, what was interesting, because I also did, drop in my form. I didn't win, it's fine. But to win it's fine. Interacting with the exhibitors, the form requires you to really interact with the exhibitors. You don't even know what's the stemble for the form. Talk to me about the strategy to win a car competition.
Let me say, firstly, congratulations to Mr. Nxumalo for him to be the winner of the 2023 car sponsored by West Bank and Kia Eswatini. Basically, what we are doing as the Eswatini International Trade Fair, we try to encourage visitors to come to the stands. As you've mentioned, that the aim basically was to ensure that there is that interaction. You don't rather come to the stand and just request for a stamp, then move away. You have to engage first with that exhibitor, understand that exhibitor. Then that exhibitor will be in the position to give you the stamp. But you also have to find it. As we had about, let me say, at Hall 2, we had about 30-something exhibitors there. We had 10 stamps, so you had to move around. We don't just give it out that the stamp is in stand number 1 or number 2, but yet you have to move around trying to find a stamp, engage with that particular company. It is basically our aim to ensure that we increase the numbers. The exhibitors have paid large amounts of exhibition fees. So it will be, I would say, a sin for us to not encourage the participation of the public or the participation of their potential consumers. So thus, hence, we worked on the issue of having the winner car competition and also having access to the trade fair at a zero cost.
Yeah. Mr. Ngabinza, thank you so much for your time this morning. We've come to the end of our conversation. Have a good day. Mr. Sihle Nkabinze, Domestic Trade Manager with the Eswatini Investment Promotion Authority, being very candid about the highlights of this year's Eswatini International Trade Fair, coming back after a 3-year layoff and set to be even bigger next year, as said by the Minister of Commerce, Industry and Trade. Certainly looking forward for that development. Let's go for a quick ad break. Stop with us.
Do you remember the spinning thing? This is us. This picture represents what we did. We were there when coronavirus wreaked havoc in our population. Together with other stakeholders, we formed the first line, controlling the spread of the unknown and unseen enemy of the people. Anxious ourselves, we collected dead bodies countrywide. At the time when no one wanted to come near dead bodies of loved ones, we did care for our fellow citizens. Thank you, the people of Eswatini and teams of first responders.
All right, just 3 minutes before Gubumbane in Simbi, yes, Kombisa. It seems we are a bit struggling to get in touch with Labahlale Basipasonage Simo Semkwako. But Lulu, I think we are getting an opportunity here just, to highlight some of the developments of Sobonile, Eswatini International Trade Fair. I think me and you, we've interacted with quite a lot of exhibitors, but Mr. Nkabinze is also touching on other aspects of the trade show. Laende ukuthi yaba interesting indzaba nje yayo win a car competition.
Everyone is looking forward to that. Yes.
Yeah. Did you ngicela nje ukuthi uthi wena ulifakile leli form lakho?
Angalifaki because I knew I didn't have a chance. Sometimes nje kumele uyekele labanye sifiso bakwenda because it's also unfair ukuthi le moto yona ngumuntu mhlambe lo sebendayo. I think it's fair ukuthi ithole umuntu mhlambe lo sa lona business yabona mhlambe lona nje usho ukuthi usebenzisela ibusiness yakhe kulasha bamfana, so I think iye empini yalo kahle kakhulu.
Yeah, and siyambongela kakhulu Mr. Sibongiseni Umalo on winning that beautiful Kia SUV courtesy of Kia Eswatini and West Bank.
Yeah, West Bank.
I wanted us to further this conversation, but we do have the opportunity now, Lulu. We go to Simo Semkwako. I think you Mr. Malambule.
Yeah, we have on the line Sergeant Kule hatusiniketa nje wonombiko ukuthi ngabe kuhambeka kanjani namhla emgwaqeni asekuvusele emagwabani ngabe sithi nisimo semgwaqo namhla ekseni.
Anguvusele Thombeni ekseni ngivusele umbukelo walohlelo sivuka kunemkhemedelo losinaqinile indzawo lesiphakeme lokwenda ke ukuthi imigwaqo yethu ibonakale inleyo lemandi kugcizelela nje bekunene ukuthi awu kulesimo lesikhona asishayile ngalokukhulu ukucophelela wena isiqiniseko sokuthi la ukhona khona uyasinaka lesimo uyalinciphisa litubane lakho umgamo wekulandzela lenye imotolo uyawugcina kuba ngiloyo lophephile siyawunaka ke ukuthi ke kunenkungu kuletinye tindzawo sikhanyise ke emalambu yetimotolo layo wenda ukuthi nalomunye ashesha kubona ngesikhathi sitovikela kona ke kwendeka kwato ke tingoti sikuvetile lokho asivetele ukuthi namuhla imigwaqo yethu ibonakala iphithitela kakhulu timotolo nalabo labahamba ngetinyawo uyawukhumbula mbukele ukuthi tivuliwe tikolo siyacela ke ukuthi ke sisawusebenzisa umgwaqo asijinge sente njalo sibanake bantwana sibanake ikakhulukazi lapho bayawuwela khona umgwaqo wende isiqiniseko sokuthi nendlela labayogibeliswa ngayo kuyawuba indlela leyo banguleyo lephephile. Siyakhuthazana nje kakhulu ukuthi kulesimo labaningi babo babonakala bagcokile sibili baphethe nato tambulelo. Yena siqiniseko sokuthi ke wena ke lochuba incola ngalesikhathi uqhamukela sisane nabo uyawunciphisa litubane unakisise ukuthi lembala bayakubona yini uthathe lesinqumo lesiyawenda ukuthi wena nalomnyeni osebenzisa umgwaqo abe ngilokuphephile. Kanti-ke emadolobheni ethu sisebenza kahle sibane temgwaqo embabane kamanzini kumathapha nalapha endasi yenhlangano. Lokho-ke embabane laphana uqhamuka ngase-Central noma kuqhamuka itulo esidwashini eceleni kwesikole lesikhulu sase-Central umgwaqo wethu lapho uvaliwe. Sisebenzisa-ke umgwaqo lesivulelona-ke kwesikhashana. Lo mgwaqo lona-ke awuvumi ukuthi imotolo ziphambane, uvuma ukuthi siniketane wona-ke mathuba nasifise kuhamba ngendlela leyo abangileyo lesheshisako. Siyacela-ke ukuthi asichubeke sihloniphane siniketane emathuba nekuveta-ke ukuthi khona lapho la sihamba khona awulungi ukuthi uhambe imoto letinkulu. Sithi nje abashayele ngalokukhulu ukucophelela kuleyo ngcengwana leyo. Nekuveta-ke emalangeni lamahle ukuthi nakuletinye tifundza imigwaqo solo yakhiwa sijinge sende njalo sinake kakhulu ikakhulukazi lapho kusetshenzwa khona senesiqiniseko sokuthi-ke sishayela ngalokukhulu ukucophelela. Nabo-ke labathutha abantwana nangathi kunqola tekufutha asijinge sigcizelele emalangeni lamahle ukuthi asichubeke sinake abantwana sishayele ngalokukhulu ukucophelela. Wena isiqiniseko sokuthi-ke inzima yakho uyayidlala umdali ngaso sonke isikhathi. Kungaba ngiloko nje kakhulu sigcizelela kunaka abafundi sigcizelela kushayela ngalokukhulu ukucophelela. Ngikhuluma nje seyikhona imotolo lekhale phansi lapha emnyokane. Lokho kuyakhombisa ukuthi bashayeli abakalinciphisi litubane. Kuyakhombisa ukuthi asisihloniphi isimo lesikhona emgwaqweni. Sikunake kakhulu lokho sibashayeli kuze ukuthi lempahla yethu lesihamba ngayo ibe ngilephephile ngaso sonke isikhathi. Kungaba ngiloko nje sithi lisuku loluhle wonke leyo usebenzisa umgwaqo nanendlini emsakazo simfisele lisuku loluhle naloluphephile. Siyabonga kakhulu.
Makhulu Magwabane Malambule ke ngaleyo traffic update leyo. Tilungelele the phrase of the day namhla ukuthi bachubet motolo abanciphise litubane njengoba ke savetela ukuthi unfortunately sekhona lesayivele yashelela ngendzaba ukuthi imigwaqo iyashelela.
Yeah, asibadlete makithi sitabene tindzaba ade zingisi.
We at Eswatini Television Authority are committed to observing the Eswatini Communication Commission's Broadcasting Code of Conduct.
Under the code, we are committed to broadcast news that is current, free from hate speech, accurate, balanced, and fair.
From politics to business, health, agriculture, courts, and global news, we bring you the latest updates as they happen, when they happen.
We cover all the sporting codes from the football pitch to the chessboards.
This is Eswatini TV News.
Right, 3 minutes after 7, here's our English news. The Prime Minister, Cleopas Dlamini, says the country can attain exponential economic growth if all sectors, including businesses and financial institutions, can support each other. The Prime Minister was speaking during the official closing of this year's International Trade Fair, where he was represented by the Minister of Commerce, Industry and Trade, Senator Mangoba Khumalo. This year's trade fair was themed Endless Possibilities.
The Prime Minister's speech, as delivered by Minister Mangoba Khumalo, began by expressing words of gratitude to their Majesties for supporting the trade fair wholeheartedly. He said this was evident in His Majesty King Mswati III's two-time visit to this year's event, which was the first in the history of the Eswatini International Trade Fair.
We have seen many companies exhibiting today, many contractors, many traders, many vendors, many financial institutions, many service providers, and what I liked the most as well was the number and quality of small, medium enterprises that had stands for the full 10 days on display. We also saw government services that we're interacting with the private sector and understanding what people require from government and government agencies and state-owned enterprises. It was an amazing opportunity for business people.
The chairman of the Eswatini Investment Promotion Authority, Theo Hlope, who was represented by Samson Mdluli, applauds all those who made the event the success that it has been for a job well done.
I want, on behalf of EIPA, to congratulate and thank all of you, our exhibitors, for the 10 days of business engagement in the Kingdom of Eswatini.
At the event, various companies and businesses were awarded for outstanding performance, and the Correctional Services Department walked away with 2 awards, whilst Eswatini was the overall winner as per the adjudicator's decision. Reporting for Eswatini TV, Mbongwa Dube with Mpendulo Kumbi in Manzini.
Dialogue in the workplace is a good recipe for harmony, and this was said by the Minister of Labour and Social Security, Philip Telezi, who says this is good for both workers and employers. The Minister was speaking during the signing of the National Voluntary Conciliation Report, which is between government and the apex body of some trade unions in the country, Itukoswa. The signing ceremony was held at the Royal Villas in Eswatini.
Out of the 21 complaints raised with the International Labour Organization, 1 was withdrawn, 15 resolved, and 5 are yet to be concluded.
We appeal that this should send a particular message to all our stakeholders to make effective and positive use of structures like CIMAC in an attempt to secure amicable settlement of their disputes. The Trade Union Congress of Eswatini and government stand here today to market the products of CIMAC, in particular conciliation and mediation. Let social dialogue prevail at the workplace. The ILO records will show that the Kingdom of Eswatini is amongst the first few countries, if not the very first country, to resort to this mechanism of optional voluntary conciliation at national level, as introduced by the CFA in March 2021.
The chairman of the panel of conciliators, Justice Sifiso Nsibande, commended all concerned parties for fully applying themselves during deliberations.
What we discovered was that it allowed the parties, the social partners, to actually discuss issues that arose for the first time between themselves.
The report shall be published for the public to read on a date to be decided by the Ministry of Labour and Social Security. Reporting for Eswatini TV, Mbongwa Dube, Ezulwini.
Sibongiseni Nxumalo walked away with a brand new car courtesy of the Eswatini International Trade Fair. Nxumalo says the car will be helpful in his transport business because the one he was using had issues. Nxumalo commends government for affording Maswati with an opportunity to have a trade fair which allows the Maswati businesses to grow. The car was presented by the Minister for Commerce, Industry and Trade, Mangoba Khumalo, representing the Prime Minister.
The 2023 Eswatini International Trade Fair provided local businesses and foreign investors with an opportunity to showcase their products and innovative ideas. The trade fair also presented an opportunity for Maswati to win themselves different prizes. A lucky winner, Sibongiseni Nxumalo, is the 2023 winner of the brand new car, Kia Sonet. Sibongiseni Nxumalo says he will use the car as an additional vehicle in his transport business. Nxumalo says his business is around transporting school-going children. Nxumalo says before COVID-19, he used to purchase items from South Africa to sell. He says that he will continue with the business now.
Isabonga kakhulu Nkosi yami kuba Kia ngiphinze ngibonge kakhulu kuba se FNB ngiphinze ngibonge kakhulu kuba se West Bank kulo mhlomelo longaka Nkosi yami ngicabanga ukuthi nami iqinisweni lonke bengingakawulinzeli but nje ke uNkulunkulu asemazulwini ubonile ukuthi kufanele ukuthi ngingawuthola lona mhlomelo ngoba yena ubonile imisebenzi yami noma imithwalo yami lekhona ngokuthi itangisidaphi.
Nxumalo thanked government and her partners with this opportunity. Nxumalo will also have a break from visiting a gas station as the car will be fueled for a year. Eswatini TV News, Sondo Mlangeni, Mbongwa Dube, Manzini.
The Ministry of Health had a chance to test and screen over 400 Eswatini who came through the ministry stall at the Eswatini International Trade Fair. According to the ministry's health promotion officer, Kelvin Dlamini, some people were screened diseases such as TB, HIV, diabetes. Dlamini says the ministry also had a chance to teach about wellness and health.
A number of ministries had a chance to interact with their clients during the 2023 Eswatini International Trade Fair. One of the ministries that brought services closer to the people without any fees was the Ministry of Health. Giving a report on how the ministry was able to interact with their clients, the Ministry of Health's promotion officer, Calvin Dlamini, says the ministry's stall was visited by over 100 people who donated blood. Over 20 people were able to test diabetes. Dlamini says most people were able to test for TB and also screen for different cancers. Dlamini says the ministry was pleased to see parents bringing in their children to vaccinate against the human papilloma virus. Dlamini says the ministry was also able to treat a number of emaswati.
Tinombolo tethu betisetulu kakhulu bantu bebeta estandini saka health kusukela nje mhla ka1 nayiqala ishow nasigcina ukuthi ihlanganisa ngalesihlanu ngicabanga ukuthi kulabe bahlole eshukela bese singetulu kwa200 kulabe banikele ngengadi bese singetulu kwa100 wemaphayini engadi lebesiwatholile kulaba hlolwe umlomo wemdlavuza wesibeletho nakhona bese singetulu kwabo 90 kanjalo nakubo HIV nabo TB cishe nje utonke inombolo tethu betisetulu kakhulu sijabula kakhulu ezweni.
The Ministry of Health continues to live up to its mandate of providing health services to emaswati. This mandate is in line with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal number 3, which speaks to providing health services for all. Eswatini TV News, Sondo Mlangeni, Themba Shabangu, Manzini.
In its drive to ensure that its reserves are adequately replenished, the National Blood Bank has casted its net wide and forged partnership with churches in order to receive blood donation from congregants. The Blood Bank has visited the Our Lady of Assumption Cathedral in Manzini in search of blood donors.
The Blood Bank encourages all emaswati to donate blood on a continuous basis in order to help those who need it because of varying ailments in the country's hospitals. Musa Dlamini, who is a blood donor educator at the Blood Bank, says they are open to invitation by organizations where people can voluntarily donate blood.
But bese kuya ngalokho uyaqualify njengoba nje sicala ku16 weminyaka siyekele ku65. Takhanza lo mnye umuntu osongetulu kwalo 65 but uyafuna ukudonate lo mnyeke emncane kunalo 16 kepha nayo uyafuna lokunikela ngenkani. Amabandla asibambisa sengukuthi ke nabasimema ukhanza ukuthi ngeke size sifike kibo bonke la ngalinye ngalokho thina lama team ethu asesemancanyana ngenombolo so ukuthatha ke nalamanye amabandla la sengase asimema wona ukuthi side kiwo side wa donate sangale kwaloko sive ngosiyami siyasibonga kakhulu ekuthenini ikakhulu emabandleni basibambisa kakhulu.
Dlamini further says as schools open for the third term, head teachers can invite the Blood Bank, but students due for external examinations are spared from donating blood at this time of the year. Reporting for Eswatini TV News, Mbongwa Dube in Manzini.
Despite the busy weekend, the Royal Eswatini Police Services reported no fatal incidents linked to weekend events. However, the Police Information and Communications Officer Phindile Vilakati says there were 2 deaths reported due to drowning.
Umsebenzi ke singathi ube mhle kakhulu kulandzela ukuthi kude dingoti lesitibalako letsinzana nalomsebenzi kude nebantu labagcine babulalana siyathi sibe kunemagigi kunalokwa nalokwa kepha-ke sive siphephile. Kuhle nempahla-ke lelahlekile lenkulu ngaleti khathi leti siyadumisa kakhulu esiveni. Sibonge nakulabo lebesibambisene nabo. Sendlulisa nekubonga lokukhulu kubashayeli bemabhasi lebebalayishe imbali le ifike kahle emakhaya yonke. Siyathemba ukuthi siyachubeka sibambisane ngale ndlela le kulandzela ukuthi seminingi imisebenzi yelive letako nakulomnyaka. Umuntu angabala-ke tigigaba letenteke nje ngaphandle kwale misebenzi lele kufaka ekhathi bantfu lababili labacwilile. Sinagogo loneminyaka lengu-70 locwilile endanse Big Band, sibe nemntfwana lonetinyanga letingu-18 naye locwilile.
We had a busy weekend where a number of events were hosted in different parts of the country. We can report that there were no fatal accidents linked to these events. We commend Eswatini for that. However, there were reports from different regions as an 18-month-old infant drowned in a pond at Mhlaleni. We also have a 70-year-old woman who drowned and died while fishing using a net in the Great Usutu River. We can take this opportunity to urge Eswatini to keep an eye, especially to children. We can also confirm that there was a 35-year-old man of Sutfogotvo who was heavily assaulted after being suspected that he raped a 15-year-old girl. We can also urge Eswatini to be on the lookout for a car that was forcefully taken from the owner with money amounting to 70,000 emalangeni and a loaded gun in Mansini.
Siyacela sive sisithinze ku-7606 8570 7606 8570 lekungibaba ehlophe lobu kenzaba debucala esifundeni sakaManzini. Sichubeke nekwekhuta umoya wekuthatha impahla yesive ngendluzula.
And now in international news, deadly storm winds and heavy floods hit Libya over the past 2 days, with estimates of fatalities ranging from hundreds to thousands of people. Senior officials said this on Monday. Let's take a look.
After 24 hours, all that remains are flooded homes and floating debris. On Sunday and Monday, Mediterranean storm Daniel swept through eastern Libya, washing away entire neighborhoods. Authorities fear a heavy death toll as they dispatched aid to the afflicted cities. Speaking to local media, the Prime Minister of the parallel government controlling eastern Libya, Osama Hamad, deplored the losses.
The dead exceeded 2,000. Entire neighborhoods were swept into the sea.
Entire neighborhood have disappeared, Dr. Osama?
Yes, disappeared with their residents.
Over the weekend, Libyans shared footage on social media showing flooded houses and roads in many areas across the eastern part of the country. They pleaded for help as floods besieged people inside their homes and in their vehicles. Multiple cities reported flooding, including Benghazi, Al-Marj, Al-Baida, Susa, and Derna. Local authorities believe that over 5,000 people have gone missing in Derna, which was the worst-hit city. They declared 3 days of mourning and ordered flags across the country to be lowered to half-mast. Troops from the Libyan National Army were deployed to help residents in Benghazi and other eastern towns. A spokesperson for the forces said they lost contact with 5 troops who were helping besieged families in Al-Baida.
In the tourist hub of Marrakesh, many homes have been badly damaged by the earthquake, forcing residents to spend a third night sleeping outside.
Laying their blankets directly on the ground, these residents of Marrakesh spend another night sleeping in the main square of the city's Jewish quarter. Some fear another aftershock. Others have been left homeless with no choice but to sleep outside.
Every family here in the Jewish area, we need to help because every family here don't have the house. Every house here is broken.
Old people, you tell me sleeping here. It is 3 days. It's tomorrow, it's cost 4 days. Not 8, not nothing. Old people, look. No sleeping good, nothing.
The damage in the city is significant. Many buildings weren't made to withstand an earthquake. Some are just barely holding up, too risky for residents to stay.
You can see that this whole wall is going to collapse. You can hear the sound of the wall cracking. Every time a person passes by here, part of the wall falls. We hope the authorities find ways to demolish the entire wall and rebuild it.
Moroccan authorities have set up an emergency camp some 50 kilometers south of Marrakesh, where about 100 families are now staying in tents. According to the World Health Organization, Friday's earthquake has impacted more than 300,000 people.
Morocco has accepted aid from 4 countries, and a number of other nations have said they are on standby to send assistance if requested. Rescuers from Britain and Spain are among those on the road.
It took this Spanish military unit 8 hours to navigate the damaged roads leading to the remote village of Imintala, devastated by Friday's earthquake.
There were no rescue groups and we arrived with the police. The destruction is absolute. All the buildings have collapsed. We will begin our search using dogs and try to find survivors.
Meanwhile, more help set off from the UK and Qatar. Some 60 other countries have offered assistance, including the US, Israel, Turkey, Algeria and France. But Morocco accepted offers from 4 foreign nations only: Spain, Britain, Qatar and the United Arab Emirates. It said a lack of coordination could be counterproductive and that other offers could be accepted if the needs evolve. On Sunday, the head of a French rescue charity, Secouristes Sans Frontières, said Moroccan authorities were preventing its teams from entering the country. France's Foreign Minister Catherine Colonna on Monday said debate over Morocco's foreign aid choices was inappropriate.
This is a misplaced controversy. Morocco is a sovereign state, and it's up to them to decide what their needs are.
Though French authorities sought to get help to the country by other means, as Colonna announced the release of €5 million to help NGOs already on the ground. Paris and Rabat have had a rocky relationship in recent years. The country has not had an envoy in Paris since January.
2 years ago in Guinea, coup leader Mamadi Doumbouya toppled the deposed regime of Alpha Condé. But today, the dialogue between the opposition, civil society, as well as the coup leaders seems more broken than ever. Colonel Doumbouya had pledged to ECOWAS, the Economic Community of West African States, to return power to civilians by the end of 2024. But the prospect of holding new elections seems a long way off.
Back in opposition since the fall of their leader, Alpha Condé, the rally of the Guinean People Party, in power between 2010 and 2021, had initially engaged in talks with the ruling junta. But today, some of its leaders are under investigation and dialogue has stalled.
There's a law in Guinea that says that elections are to be organised by the Independent Commission. But now we learned it will be the Ministry of Territorial Administration. The electoral codes also needs to be reviewed, and the constitution too. But all of these debates take place behind closed doors, making it difficult for us to follow.
Several political organizations keen to see the party return to negotiations want to engage with the military directly, with talks facilitated by regional bloc ECOWAS. The minister in charge of organizing eventual elections says he'll engage with all sides.
Some party leaders feel that the political parties they are in charge of are linked to them personally. So when they have a problem with the law, the party has a problem with the law. When they have health problems, the party has health problems. Unfortunately, this is what we're dealing with.
Some observers are clear that the ruling military has to do more to restore a climate of trust as soon as possible.
The risk is huge, because it's like slipping back into a cycle of violence that we can't control, and that could take us in any direction.
The junta-led government has pledged to organize elections by the end of 2024, but some here doubt the vote will go ahead as promised.
The G20 summit has wrapped up in New Delhi amid divisions, in particular over member state Russia's invasion of Ukraine. That was underscored by Brazil's President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, the host of the next year's G20 summit, who said Vladimir Putin will be welcomed despite an international arrest warrant against him.
Indian President Narendra Modi passes the torch to next year's host, Brazilian President Lula da Silva.
His ambivalent attitude towards Russia and the war in Ukraine has left many wondering what the next summit might look like and who might attend.
We cannot let geopolitical issues hijack the discussion agenda of the various G20 levels. We are not interested in a divided G20. Only through joint action may we face the challenges of our days.
To condemn or not to condemn the war in Ukraine has been one of the main points of contention during the summit. And though the members of the G20 could only agree on watered-down language in their joint declaration, some leaders were confident about the G20's general stance on Russia.
This G20 once again confirms Russia's isolation.
An attitude not quite shared by the Brazilian president. Speaking to an Indian news channel, Lula da Silva said Russian President Vladimir Putin would be welcome to next year's G20 summit in Rio without the fear of arrest. Putin did not join his counterparts in New Delhi because the International Criminal Court has issued a warrant for his arrest for alleged war crimes committed during Russia's invasion of Ukraine. As a signatory of the ICC Charter, Brazil is technically required to cooperate with ICC investigations and activities. Lula's policy of not taking a clear side in the Ukraine war has drawn a lot of criticism from Western countries. His latest statement further dampening hopes of a united stance on Russia.
The large United States military presence on the Japanese islands of Okinawa has long caused tensions with locals. But as Henry Ridgewell reports, amid growing tensions with China and the shock of Russia's invasion of Ukraine, sentiments towards the United States bases are changing.
The United States has around 30,000 active troops in Okinawa. It has maintained a large military presence there since the end of World War II, when US forces captured the islands after 3 months of brutal fighting. The bases have long been a source of tension with local residents.
People now in their 60s and 70s have memories of the Battle of Okinawa passed down to them from their parents, and were involved in campaigns against the bases in the past, so they feel strongly about the issue.
Aircraft noise, road accidents, and a perceived safety risk also stirred opposition to the bases. The rape of a 12-year-old girl in 1995 by 3 US Marines prompted large protests. However, sentiment appears to be changing. Polls suggest most residents believe Okinawa bears an unfair burden and the Japanese mainland should host more US bases. But younger people have a more positive view.
Although there is no overwhelming support for the U.S. military bases, young people feel there is nothing we can do about the U.S. military bases since they already exist, and that they are also necessary for the defense of Japan.
Just a few hundred kilometers west of Okinawa lies Taiwan. China has ramped up military exercises around the island, raising fears that it could launch an invasion. Okinawans fear their islands could be drawn into any wider conflict. In December, China sailed its Liaoning aircraft carrier through the Miyako Strait just south of Okinawa's main island. Aiko Shimajiri represents northern Okinawa at the Japanese parliament.
The threat to security from China is becoming more concrete.
Russia's invasion of Ukraine has changed people's minds, Shimajiri says.
And it is unclear if this situation could happen in Asia. I think there are many people in Okinawa who feel that since no one knows what may happen, it is necessary to prepare for that eventuality.
Okinawan residents who spoke to VOA gave differing views on the US bases.
If the peace of Japan is protected, I think that they are a good thing.
The Taiwan issue is a problem. When I see the news about the Ukraine war, I think that having the power of the U.S. military is absolutely necessary.
Personally, I have a lot of negative feelings. I feel strongly about it. After all, my grandparents also experienced the war, so I would be happier without the bases.
Okinawa's painful history is still felt strongly among its people. Its geography puts it on the front line of rising geopolitical tensions.
We begin our sports roundup with Green Mamba being the eventual champions of this year's edition of the Trade Fair Cup. Coach Ernest Mavuso and his captain Jabulot Fala walked away with the Best Coach and Player of the Series awards respectively. And we've come to the end of our news today. Let's go for a net break. We return to talk all things elections with Mr. Mbonisi Bembe of the Elections Boundaries Commission.
Bongosi egameni lelibandla letelkhetho nemingcele tinkundla ngingusihlalo walo libandla sihlanganyela nesive malangeni lamahle kuhalalisela ingwenyama inkosi yethu inkosi Mswati wesithathu minyakeni lamashumi lasihlanu nakuhlanu kanye nelive longana kundiphethe wethu ukuthi lo lingana nabo netinsuku tengwenyama letingu 55 nananathi sisive seMaswati sina leminyaka ilengu 55 sesikhululekile ngandiphethe. Siyabonga ke bongosi sisahalalisele makhosi ethu nelive ukuthi nebayitolo lekungibona lesithi te basebenta lelive makhosi ayitolo nesive seMaswati sonke sayitolo ngoba lokhu lesesifike lamhla siyasakukhanza sakuhala lesikuhalaliselako ngilokuchamuka kibo lekubita ke ukuthi ke nathi siMaswati njengekukhonjwa indlela makhosi ngosi yelive sichubekeni silibeke live libe ngiloko lekungona lesikukhanzile nathi nalokungcono Maswati silibandla lelikhethwa nemingcele sisahalalisele makhosi nelive ngandiphethe sijinga siphinze futhi siwabongele makhosi ngemsebenzi losetulo eveni welkhetho sisitengcile tigaba tokuqala lebesikito nyalo ke sekuseleke sigaba lesesisetulo ke yokungisona sona ke lesisitawusiniketa iParliament yethu isinikete futhi emabandla enkundla lokuba ubuchopho ke lobakhiwa induna tetinkundla lekungibona bosihlalo bese ke nabo ubuchopho bemiphakathi benkundla labakha lobuchopho lelibandla lenkundla lekungilona lelisebenzisana kanye neParliament nahulumende welive leMaswati wonkana bongosi emalanga umuntu akandlulise lokuthi ngumhla ka-26 we-special voting bese ulandzela ke umhla ka
Asimenzele sinemukele ngo-25 minutes before 8 o'clock lesikhathi sidakhuluma tona tindzaba telikhetfo njengoba dakhuluma ukuthi emavini lamabili lalandzelako kudala ukhetfo lolukhulu ama-secondary elections dakucala-ke lona lukhetfo lolukhetsekile special voting mhla ka-26 bese-ke ukuthi likhetfo lolukhulu lubanjwa mhla ka-29 September. Sengivele nginaye lapha communications officer babembonisa ibhembelo sowakhona ka-APC kuva nje ukuthi ngabe vele mhlawumbe amalungiselelo ahamba kanjani nokuva ukuthi engabe kukhankasa le kwentiwa ngiyo emakhethwa kuhamba kanjani njengoba dakhuluma ukuthi selokuvulekile kutawuvalwa nako masinyane nekuva nje ukuthi ngabe vele mhlawumbe bayayilandzela yini imigomo lebekiwe ngiloli bandla babebhembe asekuvusele futhi lo mhla sewusiteka tona tindzaba telikhetfo kuma nje singangeni kukhankasa mhlawumbe nawo emalungiselelo ema-secondary elections sinibonile nase-trade fair ukuthi benikane kusile nani ning ABC ngiyakholelwa ukuthi mhlawumbe benikhona lapha kuyosita sive noma kuyophendvula leyo mibuto labanayo mhlawumbe netikhalo ingavele mhlawumbe kusita ngana sive ukuthi nani nibe ngcenye trade fair yingahle kahle lena vele mhlawumbe bebayifise kuyiva ngilolu bandla.
Sibonge Mthombeni kusemukela emsakadweni sibonge lithuba sivusele wena sibingelele nemaswati lamahle emagumbini lamane emhlaba sibonga kumdali sipho sempilo emaswati asaphumile sekaya wakha umnotfo ngolesibili kusekuseni. Mthombeni lebandla nembala vele beli kuona emkhankaswe embukisweni nembala sesikhanga sesikhathi lesithe belikhona embukisweni lapho khona emaswati asivakashele estandi sethu lapha egroundini ngoba besishashalazini siphumele seshashalazini ukuthi singabhacila etindlini emaswati sibongile ukuthi asivakashele sacocisana ngetindzaba letinengi kulesa sigaba lesa lapho khona emaswati nobe ngithi libandla lifise kuthatha lukhetfo lolubuyisele etandleni tawo emaswati laba abantu labavotako isikhathi esiningi sivile lukhetfo lokungathi sebayemukeka bona selihlala etandleni talaba ngemakhethwa nobe labanconyiwe lokungema-candidates kanzi kufanele kube ngilolo kunye lapha even laseswatini bamvu labamcoka kakhulu kuba ngilaba labayokhetha ngoba ngiyibo lebafanele ukuthi babuke ukuthi ngemango ngitipitidzingo letikhona kudzingeka abantu labanelikhono lelinjani kude ukuthi sitawuthuthuka sende simo sethu sempilo sibe ngcono. Imicondvo eminingi lesiyitfolile khona embukisweni lapho khona emaswati abenako kukhombisa lokuthi alulandzela lukhetfo dodane abuka futhi nesimo sabo ukuthi lungiselela for lukhetfo lwesibili secondary election lapho labanengi bavedile ukuthi solo kukhona bulukhunyana ekuthenene uma bathi bayatihlola batikhanze bangekho tindzaweni tabo letingito safika khona nalapho sesibona nemimango ifaka sandla ekuveteni lo ukuthi nembala iyafakaza lo ukuthi linani lebantu lelitsite litholakale ukuthi alikho kuloluhlu lwebantu lofanele ukuthi bayovota khona babhala tincwadzi letiveta lamabito abo netinombolo tabo mavota numbers kwenta sicinisekise ukuthi nembala lide lelithuba le ukuthi kube khona lushintsho ku voters roll selaphela njengaloku ukukhumbula sake saba nayo validation process liyabe seseyavalwa mhla ka-12 July kepha uma ngabe imango seyithethe seyende lelizinga leli lekuhlanganyela nesive sabo ukuthi batobafakazela ukuthi nembala bakulowo mango leto tincwadzi leto sitithethe sitimikise kulo libandla naleti mibono leminingi nje lesitholile eshowini ukuthi nazi sive lapho sesikhona khona libandla ama-commissioners akende tinqumo ukuthi kungabe singenda njani kude ukuthi eMaswati asebende ngalokukhulu kufuthumala nasekasifikile esigabeni sakuthi sesiyokhetha ku-secondary election naku-special voting kanjalo sibabonile labanye bavela basho ukuthi hey laphana kuyaye kwendeke bese ukhanza ukuthi imisebenzi yabo ababavumeli kumbe nebaqashi babo ababavumeli ukuthi baye kuyokhetha kungako sitawucela ukuthi sithole lelithuba kugcizelela kubo baqashi ukuthi umthetho uyavuma lo ukuthi ababanike lithuba lelenele ngetulu kwaloko bangabanciphiseli nemali ukuthi ngalelo langa bona bebahambile baya kuyovota ngoba lokho sekutawubonakala kungathi sekuluswati kuwo eMaswati lafuna kuyovota kanzi leli lilungelo labo lolinikwe ngumthetho sisekelo.
So ithinzile nje babebhembenza abaye special voting isifuna kuvavele lokuthi kahle kahle bobani laba lebhe ukuthi bavote ngalelanga leli because ngiyakhumbula ukuthi likhetho elincane kwabakhona labajikiswako khona kaManzini kwathiwa babuye ngalelanga lelikhulu lekuvota bobani kahle kahle laba lekumele ukuthi babhalisele ukuthi batawuvota ngalelanga lelo.
Umthetho loluselukhetho uyaveta ukuthi labamfula abangavota ngale special voting labo labasebenzela lukhetho disebenzile lukhetho ngilabo labantu bebasebenta ngalelanga lelikhetho kuletha lusido kulesi sigaba selikhetho lokufaka ekhathi emaphoyisa sithi asisheshe sikuvete ukuthi nebashayeli njengalokuthi awukhumbula ukuthi libandla liyaye lisebenzise tinqola ikakhulu leti layisha sive public transport lokwenda ukuthi labo ke bashayeli labo kungenteka bangakhoni kuyosebenzela ngasemakhaya kubo futhi siyafisa lokuthi bangayi kuyosebenzela emakhaya kubo ukuthi ukuthi sitawukhona kuvikela conflict of interest ngoba uma ngabe kukhona nawe lotawufuna ukuthi umkhethe utawukhanza ungathi sekufuna ukuthi uhambele isigodi sithile lawa adika ukuthi batawusupporta lona lotawubena nawo umkhethile kuyafaka ke khathi nebantu ke labasebenta imisebenzi lebucayi event essential services lapho khona siveta lo ukuthi libandla selivetile lo ukuthi bantu abacale ku-applya ngoba nemuntu nje ayedvana lo netizathu leticinile letiveta ukuthi kungenteka ngakhoni ukuthi ayovota ngalomhla ka-29 September ngaleto tizathu leto anga-applya kulolu bandla angayenda nje just a formal application lapho atawucela ukuthi yena lotabe avotela kunang inkundla nangu kulomango lona as polling station yakhe ukucela ukuthi ayovota ngatizathu leti libandla ke litase lihlala phansi seliyabuka lokuthi liyasivuma yini lesicelo sakhe lomvule limphendvule uma ngabe futhi lingazivumi litaphinze limphendvule nakhona uma ngabe selizivumile tabe sesilibandla liyakhona ukuthi lento emalungiselelo ukuthi lusido nobe timpahla tekuvota kuleyo ndzawo leyo tengedwe ngoba sekukhona umuntu lomunye lotabe avota kuleyo ndzawo leyo nobe bantfu labatabe bavota kuloyo mango loyo libandla liveteke ilanga lolosihlanu lesiya kuyo mhla ka-15 September ukuthi kube ilanga lekugcina lokufaka ticelo tekuthi bantu baye ku-special voting siyacela ukuthi tinhlangano tinkampane njengaloko emaswati lamaningi asebentela tinkampane akafake ticelo afake nalamabito ebantu nekuthi bayovotela kuphi lokufaka ekhathi nabanaketfu nabotsatsi wethu labaye basebentele kuletate kugadza security services nani ke nibe tindzaba nani ninalo lelungelo lokuthi ningafaka ticelo ukuthi njengaloku ndabeni coverage khetfo nikhanza ukuthi nisetindzaweni etiningi letehlukahlukene hayi ekhaya kini ngako utawukhanza ukuthi lelo thuba lelo lungelo lakho lokuthi uvote engcenye awusakhona ukuthi ulisebenzise kahle ngemsebenzi ngako ke ungavumeleka lokuthi bese sowuya kovota ngale special voting.
Okay, ngifuna singene ke endzabeni yevenue babebhembe indzawo lapho kutavotelwa khona. I think nje vele nakucala taba khona tikhalo ukuthi labanye bebasuka khashane bekubaphoceleke ukuthi beteka amanzini nakhetha indzawo yinye le central ukuthi sive sitavotela khona kule special voting. Ingabe this time around kuma secondary elections kutawondeka kanjani babebhembe kutawondeka the same thing noma mhlambe nibukile ukuthi nibe khona nakuletinye indzawo?
Libandla lise-Alvete lokuthi nembala kutawukwendeka ngalendlela lebekwendeke ngayo. Yebo ke kwehlukahluka kancane ku primary election lapho khona sasebenzisa indzawo letinzatfu kamanzini kanti emalangeni besiya yesebenzise yinye indzawo ukhanza ukuthi sekwehlukana nje ngemahola besebenzisa indzawo yakumavuso. Mavuso ke siyamati ukuthi bekasebenta nyalo alungisela wona umbukiso sangakhona ukuthi siyosebenta kuwo. Libandla ke lisawushikisha tandla kubo labacizela ibala la kumavuso ukuthi simane sikhone kusebenta khona sisengayithola imvumo kungako singakhona lamhla kuveta lokuthi sitabe siyosebentela kuphi kufanele libandla masinyane litawuveta lokuthi ngikuphi lapho siyawusebentela khona. Sithi sikushito lokuthi sitabe sindzawo yinye phinde futhi sibe cognizant of the fact ukuthi kule primary election sakhanza ukuthi labanengi abakakhoni kufika ngokuthi tincola lebese tisebenzisa tabonakala ukuthi tincane. Libandla ke lihleli phansi lalungisa nalabasibukele litiko lelibuke tekuthutha public transport or public works and transport kokuthi likhuliswe lelinani kwanyalo etafuleni kusenenzaba ukuthi inkhundla ngenkundla akube nebhasi yinye letawukhona ukuthi ibathathe abantu kuleyo nkundla ibasonzete endzaweni yokuyovota lokungasho ukuthi singabuka lokuthi nasesifika ku le special voting sibe nemabhasi lang 59 latawukhona ukuthi asebenzele nobe ahambise abantu labasuka kuletinkundla tabo bayovota. Siyacela ukuthi ke kulabo labantu bavumelekile nobe kuleto 70 telukhetfo tifake i-uniform yabo baphathe ticebhezane tabo tekusebenta ma name tags kanye nabomatisi babo bebuve lekungona umshayeli webhasi latawubabona ngako nabamile estation ngoba nakhona istation siyaveta lokuthi ngeke nje sithathe nobe ngangibani loya kamanzini kepha kutabe ngilabo lobabonakala bafake i-uniform kanjalo nabo laba cize tekuthula kuma security forces nanabo sicela ukuthi nabaya kumavuso bayovota bayifake i-uniform yabo baphathe nema national IDs abo nalabo laba kuma essential services labavunyelwe nabo beyasendele kanjalo nalamanye ke ma individuals latabe acelile nanabo abayifake i-uniform yabo nangabe ke kumbe kuleyo imisebenzi la ukhanza ukuthi khona kude uniform abayiphathe le copy yalesicelo nobe imvumo ngoba libandla litawuthi nalibavumela bese liyabaphendvula baphathe ke leyo mvumo ukuthi ngiyona labatawu kungena ngayo egedeni ngoba bona batawu bangakafaki i-uniform ngetulu kwale mvumo basiphathele wona ema national IDs abo.
Okay, kepha nitawona njani babebhembe after kulovota kwa Tuesday ndawo kwa mhla ka 26 nitawabale leso sikhathi noma ndawamela kwabala kanye nalawo elikhetho lelikhulu?
Umthetho lomusha lo ngumthetho lo chibela lo wayitolo wa 2013 uyaveta lo ukuthi kuvote nobe kubala kwamavoti sekuyawendiwa kuleyo ndzawo lapho kuvotelwa khona kungako lapho bebavotela khona itolo simsebenzisile Divine St Michael's na Manzini Central sibalele khona lapho nakubo banaketfu laba se correctional facilities njengaloku nabo batabe banawo special voting ngendzawo Matsapha Mankayane Enhlangano
nabo ngalo 26 kepha
nabo ngalo 26 batabe benda njalo nabala ngaphandle eveni lapho lapho sine manxusa khona bo Taiwan bo Brussels bo UK USA onke nje lapho sinabo lusiba nase South Africa kanjalo whether kusepitoli nobe kuseJozi nabo batabe bavota ngalomhla ka26 kusukela nga7 kuyoshaya insimbi yesihlanu entsambama 5 siyacela lo ukuthi eMaswati akasonzele kuletindzawo kukhona lapho khona sivile inasenda special voting itolo ukuthi labanye bese babheka ukuthi lamavoti atawufika labahlala khona kanzi nobe ubuka emangweni nasithi siyovota kusuka umuntu aye endzaweni la kuyovota which is the polling station siyacela ukuthi eMaswati la ngaphandle kwelive ade ukuthi bolisiba bakuphi bahambe bayovotela khona site lenye indlela lephephile lesingakhona kukwenda ngayo lokho ngoba akasifisi lo ukuthi bese sekuba khona emavoti la ngasiwo lomunye ukakhanza ukuthi seyawa photocopy sekachamuka sekamanengi kanzi ngalana abaliwe ukuthi lawa laphumile aphume aya kubobani ngako nobe sekabuya kufanele ukuthi siwabuke siwa reconcile ahlangane nalabanikati babo ukuthi wo lamavoti nje ngiyabekisa nge-primary elections akho ka222 emavoti laphumela ngaphandle kwelive siyabuka ukuthi nakabuya kubuya labangakhi yebo kakabuyanga wonke lo 222 lokusho ukuthi labanye abakhonanga ukuthi bahambe bayovota labanye futhi basho ukuthi hayi bese basekhaya ngalelo langa lelo base bayovota emakhaya kubo siyafisa lo ukuthi si-update ke le list leyo ngoba laba besolo sibabhekile kanjalo nasematilongweni nakhona sitawuhamba siyoyi-update list ngoba itolo lobeka ngekhathi ungaphandle labanye ke ngenhlanhla lembi labe bangaphandle sebangekhathi ngako sitawufuna lokuthi nobe bangekhathi ilungelo labo lekuvota singabemuki bachubeke bavota.
Okay. Ngifuna sithinze manje babhembinza baye kukhankasa ngoba sidakumla ukuthi solo kuyachubeka davala nje masinyane kuhamba kanjani bakhethwa ayalandzelela imvele mhlawumbe imithetho lebekiwe ngeEBC. I think siyayibona nemibiko nje namhlanje iobserver ikhokhile ukuthi labanye vele bamvete indzaweni etiningi etinkundleni etiningi bayayibalekela lemsebenzi yakhankasa sibonela nasemjingo kwendekile nanyala manzi neSouth kwendekile ingavela mhlawumbe khamba kanjani.
Kuyindzaba lemcoka kakhulu lesifisile ukuthi sive ungathi singacondzisisa lo ukuthi kukhankasa kuyini live nobe mother nature kuningi lasinike kona kusekela impilo siyade ukuthi impilo yemuntu ngamunye isekelwa tinvo lekufaka ekhatsi kudla lokufaka ekhatsi luphahla shelter lokufaka ekhatsi kugcoka ya asesibekise ngaloko kukhona imvelo isinikile lokho kepha nawuthi uyabuka ngaphandle uyakhanza ukuthi sinabo bantfu labaningi labaphila phasi esimo lesibucayi buphuya budlangile uyadibuta ukuthi lokhu ungabe kwentiwa yini so uyabona lokuthi kukhona lapho khona kude kahle the South equal distribution of resources latawusekela lempilo la siselukhethweni nyalo sithi sifuna ukuthi sithole bantfu labatawukhona ukuthi bahambe bayokwenda imigomo bawushaya imithetho bende tinhlelo letitawenda lo ukuthi sikhone kusebenzisa kahle lama resources ungaba usesigabeni sebucopho ungaba usesigabeni selunga leParliament ungaba sesigabeni sendvuna yenkundla umsebenzi wonke lenwendako ufuna kutosekela impilo yalamaswati siyafuna ke sisive nyalo siselukhethweni ukuthi ungabe bobani laba bantfu lesingabathuma ukuthi bahambe bayosendela le balancing act yekuthi le ma resources la nawo abuye atosebentela thina sonke sisive nguko ke indzaba yekukhankasa lapho khona umuntu lo unconyiwe wa esigabeni sebucopho ngoba solo ngemanconyo wena kanzi kulelinye tigaba telunga leParliament kanye nendvuna yenkundla sebakhethiwe elukhethweni lokucala iPrimary election labo bamvu labo sebawukhankasa bakhankasela ukuthi bathole amavoti ekuyongena emahovisi lapho batawusebentela khona labo bamvu labo ke banenzima yokuthi batotatisa esiveni libandla libanikile amathuba amabili lokuqala lithuba ukuthi bahambe nalo libandla i-Elections and Boundaries Commission batatisa kuloko labathi organized campaign lapho khona imango icelwa lokuthi ihlangane itowulalela letinkulumo noma presentations lalethwa ngulabantu labafuna emavoti ukuthi batophumelela bangene elikhethweni ngulapho khona sifuna kutokuva lo mcondo wabo batikhulumela ukuthi kubalansisa lama resources lesinawo eveni lelamhla siyabonga ukuthi siyaphila kepha kuyabonakala ukuthi siyashiyashiyana ungabe bathi bona batawenda njani yinto inhlelo labatawutanato kubona ukuthi live linekudla lokwenele kubona ukuthi tindzawo lasihlala khona phecelezi human settlements kuyahlaleka khona lusito lweseludzingile siyalithola dudane ngidiphi inhlelo labatawutiqinisekisa ukuthi siyatifaka eveni nobe enkundleni kubuka ukuthi imisebenzi nayi insha siyayibona ukuthi iyafunza icetse etikolweni nasemakolishini kofa ingatholi imisebenzi nobe bathi bayasebenza lapho basebenza khona ukhanze ukuthi kunekushiyashiyana ngebulili bomake bahola imali encane bobabe bahola imali eningi yini labatawukwenda kunakisa kutotonke letidzingo lesinato emangweni ngulesigaba lesike sekukhankasa lapho khona kufanele ukuthi emaswati ngabe aphuma khona ngelinani lawo kutowulalelisisa ukuthi nembala lo musha lo ngenele likhetho uthi utawukulungisa njani lo make lo ngenele likhetho ukuthi utawukulungisa njani lo babe nanangu lokhubatekile uthi utawukwenda njani ngoba tonke letinhlangothi leti sisenato elikhethweni kungena esigabeni selikhetho lwesibili ngakho siyanxusa ukuthi emaswati akaphume ngedingane nabo emakhethwa ethu ema-candidates akahambe abatise labantu nabasenda ukukhankasa kwesibili lapho khona batikhankasela ngamunye basebenzisa nabo galajane babo babatise lokuthi ngelilanga lelithite sizabe sinayo lemhlangano ama-organized campaigns lapho khona sitawuhlangana silibandla naso sive sibanike lamathuba sibese selama candidates wanike isikhathi lesilingene ukuthi bakhone kufaka leto tinkulumo tabo nesive kanjalo sitawutibutela ukuthi utawusithuthukisa siye kulesigaba lesinje ungabe ukubukile lokhu naloku likhono lakho ekwendeni nayo leminye imisebenzi ngoba labanye ukhanza ukuthi abayiveti leminye imisebenzi kanisive sine interest ngakhona kuva lokuthi ungabe vele lo ekunene nasekabuke lo hlangothi lolo utawenda njani who is the most competent candidate kulaba khona kude ukuthi sitawuthi sifika ngomhla ka26 nobe lo mhla ka29 September sikhone ukuthi bese sikhetha the most plausible or the most convincing candidate kude ukuthi sitawucala kusebenta sithuthukisane siye phambili.
Alright, nokuvakala simakhulu babembe isikhathi sakho nomhla ekseni kusingita nje sithombe sekuthi emalungiselelo elikhethwa hamba kanjani kanjalo kwenemsebenzi yokukhankasa kwawo emakhethwa special voting itawubanjwa mhla ka26 bese kuthi elikhethwa lolukhulu lona lube mhla ka29 September sibahlole emakethe sibest over lahlelo.
Let me tell you about my crush. Ngenzane inhliziyo yami embi kwakho njengedance.
Ngondle isiswayo.
It is 3 in the afternoon. We are back in the living.
For men are so kind towards creation more than they even were to their own creator.
I am the greatest of this generation. They'll be calling me the girl who made poetry look cool, yo. Cool.
All right, we've come to the end of our program for the day. Quite a chilly weather outside. If you are going out for work, we suggest that uphathe kwekumba thungabulawa ngemakhathi. Otherwise, from myself and Lungelele Makakula, it's a goodbye. Enjoy your day.